Hello, my beautiful people. Welcome to the weekly general overview reading with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, share, and if you should so choose and it resonates, hit that subscribe button. If you are already a continued subby, you know I love you for it. So, with that said, this week, up until the 31st, you still have time to get your retrograde survival kit. It is currently $19.99 on the day that it goes on the day that Mercury does go retrograde on 31st of October. It will go up to full price. So if you haven't got yours yet, get it so you can get your strategy in place. With that said, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do so on the website address below. And I wanted to say there are a whole bunch of bits and bobs and offers and stuff coming ahead soon in time for holiday season, so hang in there for those. With that said, let's go straight into it. So when I went into my intuition just before I started this reading, what actually came to me was a spiral, but rather than it being the spiral being the message, it was like I could see a spring uncoiled, right? So when a spring uncoils, it basically creates a longer version of the spring. And the message was really clear. It was about distance. In order to maintain or gain clarity this week, you are going to have to keep a distance from something or someone, even, you know, if that's your situation. So we've got a Mercury retrograde taking place this week, right? And it's interesting because one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to delve into this week. Mercury is retrograde in Scorpio, right? And it goes retrograde in Scorpio on the 31st of October. For those of you that know, for those of you that don't know, that is Samhain, right? It's also known as Halloween, All Hallows Eve. It is the time where the veil between this world and the next world is thinnest. Now, that doesn't work for everybody. Some people kind of think, oh, you know what, I'm not really a believer in any of that. The fact that you are here means that you're possibly open-minded enough to kind of take it in this way then. If you can't accept that the veil between this and some other world is thinnest, imagine it like this. You are more susceptible to being open to your own intuition. Your own intuition is likely to be heightened at this time because it is a solstice time as well, right? So whenever we have the solstices, the energy takes on a different quality. It takes on a different texture, and it very often heightens the experiences that we have. Now, Mercury going retrograde in Scorpio at this time, for me, really spells out a lot of people will be having prophetic dreams, dreaming your own future, dreaming somebody else's future. Pay attention to what your dreams tell you over the course of the day before, the day of, and the day after, right? Those 3 days of the Mercury retrograde, obviously it lasts longer than that, but say on the 30th, the 31st, and the 1st, right? Pay attention to your feelings, your gut instincts, your intuitions, your daydreams. If you drift off into a reverie and you start thinking about something, try and uncover what you're actually, what your mind wanders on. And this is the thing as well, your imagination, when you go off into a daydream and a reverie, is actually contemplation. When you can contemplate something, very often that is how you solve problems. It's how you unpick or unpack things that might have been an issue to you, right? Even in your dreams as well, it's documented that we work through a lot of our issues and our problems in waking life while we're asleep, which is sometimes why we don't remember our dreams. If it's too much for us to confront, our psyche will hide something from you. Scorpio is about uncovering things, right? It's about secrets revealed in that respect because it has that deep penetrative sort of quality. There's nothing surface level about the sign of Scorpio. It wants depth. It needs to know what is underneath. It looks at the subtext. It looks behind the scenes. It looks between the lines and all of that. Mercury, conscious thought, right? Our thought process, our understanding, our skill set, even, right? All things that Mercury rules. You could be having random flashes of things and saying, right, well, I can improve this by doing this. I can be better at that by doing this, or by studying that, by researching, reading, learning about this, and this. But because it is happening around this time, really pay attention to your intuition. It's going to be very strong, very heightened. Pay attention to your dreams, pay attention to your gut instinct. All of those things are going to be heightened. And for those of you that are already there, especially those of you that are in training, for those of you that already have the gift, this is going to be a very powerful time of visitations. For those of you that have loved ones who have crossed over, for those of you that have, have just recently lost somebody, for those of you that have, any ancestors or anything, I mean, we all do in some way, shape or form, that have crossed over, expect to hear messages from them. Don't take it and freak out and think, oh my gosh, I'm finally losing my mind, or Mercury retrograde has scrambled the goods. No, not in the slightest. What it's done, what it's doing is its best work to make you highly sensitive and susceptible in the thought. So this is using your conscious thought to process these intuitive spiritual experiences, and there could be a lot of them. Visitations. For some of you, you could wake up and see somebody in the bedroom, right? Double check that it is actually, not a tangible person, right? But all jokes aside, this could be where you're having visions. It could be where, loved ones visit you in dreams, where you have intuitions, or you go into a daydream about something and you end up sort of having a flash of what that loved one would have said to you had they still been here today. All of these things are going to be very, very possible over those 3 days that I mentioned, the 30th, the 31st and the 1st, right? Over those 3 days, that sort of stuff could be really, really real. And if you're not used to it, if it is just a gift that is now starting to make itself present, it can be really unsettling, right? I remember the first time I ever had something like that happen, I freaked out. Granted, I was 5, so, I'll cut myself some slack, but even as an adult, these things can sometimes be really unsettling. And I truly believe, unless it is something that's specifically come for a reason, I truly believe that when things reveal themselves to us, it's pretty much always of a benefic nature, right? So pay attention to all of your spiritual, psychic, all of that sort of stuff. For some of you that think it's a bit woo-woo, I'm sorry, but I really feel like this is going to be a heightened time for this kind of thing. So pay attention to it when it arises. So let's have a look. I would like to bless all of my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise, and they help us all on our paths to our highest vibrational good. So the destiny card for the week ahead, what do we have this week? We have the moon card, right? All right, so this is about coming full cycle. We're here now. If you haven't seen it yet, check out the video that I did. It's called A Walk Through Tarot, Death and Scorpio. Myself and Richard Swatton, an amazing astrologer. He was actually one of my tutors at the London School of Astrology. He and myself are giving talks about all of the major arcana cards and how they correspond to the zodiac. Very exciting for me. We kicked it off with Death and Scorpio, the Death card in Tarot and Scorpio, because the 31st of October, for those of you that don't know, is the original New Year's Eve. Samhain or Halloween or whatever you want to call it was the original New Year's Eve. This was when we crossed over into the new year, so to speak. So a very, very interesting time, and that's why we started with that, because we're in Scorpio season, right? Perfect. I love the way that that's worked. And this moon card, the moon is cyclic, as are human beings, and the fact that this is the destiny card, it feels for me like the veils are dropping, right? But it's not just about the veil of the energy, it's also about the veil of who we are, right? The moon is the benefic influence of the night, right? She represents the goddess, and for me it kind of suggests, when you think about early man, nighttime, the evening, when the sun disappeared, was a very scary time, because it's like, what, are we going to survive the night? Is the sun ever going to come back up? Like, there was always that kind of primordial fear, let's call it, right? Those instinctual fears that come out of, not irrationality, because, when it's real to you, it's real to you. But then the goddess Luna turns up and she shines a light in the night to say, you know what, I, that motherly, goddess type, feminine energy, will grant you relief and release from the fears that you hold by shining a light into the darkness, right? And that's kind of what I feel the moon card is representing in terms of our destiny, in terms of the collective destiny. There's going to be something that comes to light. We're in Scorpio season. It wants the depth. It wants the truth. I want to see what's behind there, right? And the moon card represents our past, but it's also our instinctual or primal fears. You could have a real glimpse, a very deep glimpse into this. It may even come through a dream, through an intuition, through a loved one visiting you and saying, you've been dealing with this long enough. This, and this is the reason, and here is your solution. So be open, allow your senses to be open. We are deeply cyclic beings, right? Human beings are cyclic by their very nature. And the fact that we've got the moon card here really for me means that we are all due a grand completion in some way, shape or form. Now, the moon card can see distortion, it can see confusion, because it's, the moon, she borrows light, right? So she takes that light of the sun and she says, right, you cannot give this in the evening, so I will borrow that light and I will give this to the children of the world, right? Or the universe, let's call it that. So very, very interesting as a concept, and really interesting as a destiny card. But yeah, there's going to be a grand culmination here. This whole thing with the Brexit, for those of you in the UK and those of you that keep an eye on world politics anyway, I believe that we are going to see a suspension. The moon card is basically saying, I'm going to shine a light here and I am either going to buy more time for something that probably won't go ahead, or I am going to extend, right? Extend so that we can get the truth, the depth, the nitty gritty, so to speak. The depth, the direction card, we've got the strength card, right? And now look at this. I mean, I talked about cycles. You see there, she's got the Mobius veil above her head. And that Mobius veil represents infinity. It represents the process of karma. It represents the energy of things being cyclic, right? It's in essence a nod to the Ouroboros as well, the snake that eats its own tail. It represents continuity. Now, the strength card itself as a direction card means that a lot of people will be paying attention to the physical sensations that they have. You may notice that for a lot of you may notice that your physical self, your body, your gut instinct, all of that is really heightened this week. With the strength card as a direction as well, it suggests that a lot of people are going to really get to the depths of themselves and say, you know what, I want to start paying more attention to what I want in the heart of hearts. And what's really interesting about this, right, is that we've got Venus in Scorpio as well, right? So she's asking you, what do you really value? What is it that at your core, right? And the strength card, in your heart, what is it that you really value? What is it that you truly believe about yourself? Where do those stories in your past come from? Are you ready to take a look, young one? Are you ready to, and when I say young one, I don't mean from me, I mean from the universe, the planets, right? The gods. This is them saying to you, are you ready to truly find out what you're made of? Are you ready to truly transcend where you've been? Are you ready to see the cycles that you've been in, the holding patterns, the things that have held you back? Are you ready to open up to what your heart and your soul truly want from you? Are you ready to step forward? Are you ready to find your strength, your courage? The strength card is ruled by Leo, the heart and the spine. Are you ready to truly stand for everything that you are? And more importantly, to really reveal to yourself what it is that you value, what it is that you really put your time and your energy into, where your thoughts really go, what it is that you say you love versus what it is that you really love. All of this, there's going to be some grand revelations this week. I truly believe that. And for the better, if there's something that comes up this week and you think, oh shit, I don't like that about myself, The beauty of it is that it's been revealed, right? Because when it's revealed, then you can say, okay, you know what, I don't like that aspect of myself. I want to do something about it. I'm going to find the courage within myself to face it. And look at this, right? The moon card, the deep sort of primordial fears that I talked about, right? Those instinctual things that are ingrained into our DNA because we're human, you know, and we've evolved over however long. And then the strength card comes up as the direction to say, yeah, this stuff is going to come up this week, but look at this. Your direction card with the strength card is saying, you know what, that's fine. I'm ready to face myself. I'm ready. And that's what it is. You know what? I remember reading a line once when I was, I think, about 12, and it stuck with me since then. And the line was, there's nothing frightening in the dark if you just face it, right? Whatever it is that comes up about you, it's all you. So therefore, you know, if it has the ability to frighten you like that, it's also got, you also have the ability to change it. And look at this, you know, I was talking about this duality about the sun and the moon, right? The moon card, the moon, lunar, strength card represents Leo, which is the sun. It's a very, very dualistic nature about the energy that's going on this week. And when I say dualistic, it's not about being, you know, separatist or anything like that. This week you could find a grand balancing within yourself where you really find this energy within yourself and find an understanding of who you really are and how you're about to move forward and what you're about to transcend and what it is that you need to know about yourself, about your life path. This message seems even more poignant now because it's like distance. Right? If you're in it and you're like, oh, I'm afraid and I'm judging this and I'm judging that. And then if you get into all of that, you've already lost, right? If you create this distance, and when I say distance, it doesn't mean running away. It means just separating yourself from it and looking at it, right? And so this is why I say, if something comes up about you and you think to yourself, oh, I don't like that about myself, don't judge it, don't hate it, don't try to bury it. Allow it to come up, allow it to see the light, allow it to be seen within you. Because when you look at it and say, okay, you know what? I still love me. I still care about me enough. I still value Venus in Scorpio, myself enough to say, right, okay, this is in the depths of who I am. I can change that. Now that I've seen it, now that I've observed it, I can transform that. I can transcend that. I can evolve that, right? The Phoenix rising, that is Scorpio energy, right? Really, really interesting stuff coming through. Let's have a look at the insight card. What is the energy that is breaking through for all of us this week? It is the 7 of Wands. You've got to be prepared to fight for yourself. You have to be, and when I say fight, this isn't about you know, kicking and shouting and screaming, right? This is about using that courage. So the fear, the primal understanding that, oh, okay, you know what, this might is really dark. I can't really see the path at all. I'm a bit freaked out by it. Okay, but that's fine. I'm going to rack up my courage and my strength. And with the insight card as the 7 of Wands, I'm ready to do battle for myself. I'm ready to, and you know, this is going to sound really, really OTT, but, and I say it in the best way, this is about you conquering some of the darker aspects of yourself. Not to conquer them and squash them down and, I've defeated that, so I have no more ego. It's not about that, because then you're still in the trap, right? It's about acknowledging it and saying, you know what, I will love you, I will accept you, and I will transcend you. Right? I will integrate you into self so that when I need to use those harder aspects of myself, I have access to them. However, they're not unconscious anymore and they don't have the power to rule me or control me or ... trigger me. Right, this 7 of Wands says that you this week we're all ready to do battle. And when I say ready to do battle, it's about doing what is going to enhance your experience of life. It's about finding that courage and that endurance within yourself to say, yeah, you know what, there are some things that need to change. There are some things that have held me back and I am ready to transcend that now. I'm ready to do something about it. This can be a truly fantastic week. Oh, look at that. I've only just noticed in the card as well, you see the triple moon. I mean, these cards, I could talk for hours on this combination, but it's going to be a very interesting week. It's going to be a very powerful week for internal personal change and shift. Utilize the energy of this week. Pay attention to what comes up. Be prepared to look at the difficult stuff. Be prepared to, and like I say, you know, be prepared. Pick up your wand, pick up your aforementioned if you have them, if you use those. And if it's not those things, be prepared to use part of your mental focus and spiritual energy to better your life, right? And the way that you do that is by understanding that these parts of self that you're conquering, it's not even so much that you're conquering, it's that you're bringing them into line, right? If we all have that black dog or the black wolf that can, you know, jump out and tear everything to shreds, it's not great to be that all the time, but there are times in life where you have to call that energy up. I remember one day somebody said to me, my dragon's big when it comes, but I keep it locked up as it needs to be. And I was like, you know what, I get that, right? And sometimes it really is important to be able to call up those aspects of self, to deal with the challenges or the heavy stuff of life. But if you let it run away with itself, it rules everything and you get triggered by everything. Right. So, and the other thing as well this week as well, I know this is going to be a long video, you could see where some of these primordial fears are, where some of this past baggage triggers you into behaving certain ways. And once you see it, it's like you can step back, and then when it comes up again, you're like, ooh, usually I would have done this and this. And it almost becomes like a thing that you laugh at, because you're like, okay, you know what? It has no power to rule me anymore, right? That's the whole thing with the Seven of Wands. It always says that you have the high ground, you have the ability to meet this challenge, but it's going to require your focus, and you have to plant your feet, stand still, and you have to face it. All right, so whatever that means for you, I truly hope that it helps you. I truly hope that it serves you and assists you in some way, shape or form. It's going to be a great week, but it's going to be a very intense week. And you know, as this is the start of this retrograde season, it's going to be really, really interesting. Lots of awesome stuff coming up. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up for you. I wish you all an abundance of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance itself. Take care, have a great week, have an awesome Samhain, Halloween, All Hallows Eve, whatever you celebrate, if you do, and if you don't, still have a great week anyway. All right, take care, I'll see you soon.